up as a kid. All a nigga wanna have was a Burberry scarf and $3 in my pocket. Instead I got beat with a switch, but I don't give a fuck, but it's on my body. Scars all up on me, but I run around from.
I'm going to start out with is the NFC West. I believe that the San Francisco 49ers are going to once again win the NFC West for the second straight year in a row. And a lot of people think that Seattle is going to win because they picked up Jamal Adams. But I mean, although Jamal Adams is going to improve their defense, they still have a big flaw, which is their lack of a pass rush. And they were one of the worst teams last season at getting pressure on the quarterback. And also their offensive line still is not that great in my opinion. But the 49ers, on the other hand, they're the complete opposite. Not only do they have a complete team, but they're also really good in the trenches. They're really good on the offensive line, and they're really good on the defensive line as well. Now, some people say that the 49ers lost a lot of talent. I mean, they lost a few players, but they replaced those guys. Like, they traded DeForest Buckner to the Indianapolis Colts. So you get rid of DeForest Buckner, then you bring in Javon Kinlaw, who basically a lot of people say is Javon Kinlaw is basically DeForest Buckner 2.0. So you bring in Javon Kinlaw. Then you still have Nick Bosa, you still have D4, you still have Arik Armstead, you still have a very good group of linebackers, Quan Alexander, Fred Warner, you still got Richard Sherman and at the cornerback position. So, I mean, look, this 49ers defense is still going to be one of the best defenses in the NFL, and they're still going to be really good at getting pressure on the quarterback. Now, offensively, I think that they probably will be a top 12 or a top 10 offense. I think a lot of people give this 49ers offense some unnecessary hate because of Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, a lot of people keep saying that Jimmy Garoppolo is not a good quarterback, like he's average and things like that. And here's my argument with that. Think about what the 49ers were before Jimmy Garoppolo arrived in San Francisco. They weren't really great. Then Jimmy Garoppolo comes in, and they close out his first 5 games starting as a 49er undefeated. Or, yeah, I think they went undefeated, or they only lost 1 game or something crazy like that. Then Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt. They're not good. Then I find it ironic how Jimmy Garoppolo comes back from a season-ending injury the season prior and takes us to the Super Bowl. So think about that. When Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't playing, they had a top 5 draft pick. But then he comes back, and they go from one of the worst teams in the NFL to the Super Bowl. And you guys can say what you want to say about Jimmy Garoppolo having to not really do a lot because of how good the San Francisco 49ers ground game is. But, I mean, look, Jimmy Garoppolo had some really good games last season. Like, nobody talks about his performance against the New Orleans Saints. Like, it seems like every time Jimmy Garoppolo has a great game, people just seem to, just look at it and be like, he had a great game. But when he has a bad game, people just want to talk about, like, people talk about the Super Bowl. Like, Jimmy Garoppolo played a really good Super Bowl for the first 3 quarters. He just couldn't make the big plays when it mattered the most with the game on the line in the 4th quarter. He missed some very big throws and missed some wide open wide receivers. But Patrick Mahomes, on the other hand, he made those big plays when it mattered. He started out slow, but he was able to finish the race. And that's what separates Patrick Mahomes from Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, listen, Jimmy Garoppolo, I still feel is a good quarterback. I still think that he is the franchise quarterback for the 49ers, and the 49ers can win the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo at the helm at quarterback. So I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is holding back the 49ers. So I'm so tired of seeing these headlines and all these different articles about how Jimmy Garoppolo is holding back the San Francisco 49ers. Like, last year was really Jimmy Garoppolo's first season as a full 16-game start. Like, last year was the first time in his career he was a starter for a full 16-game season. So he's still learning, he's still improving. He still has a lot that he needs to work on. And it's not too late for him. Like, he can still improve. He can still develop. Like, a lot of people already have this closed narrative on Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, he's basically reached his ceiling. Like, Jimmy Garoppolo has potential to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. And the 49ers believe in him. That's why they gave him that big long-term contract extension. So, I mean, the fact that people keep saying that Jimmy Garoppolo is holding back the 49ers makes no sense to me. Then you look at the offensive line. So, you lost Joe Staley to retirement. So, who do you bring in to replace him? You bring in Trent Williams in the trade with the Washington football team. So, I mean, this 49ers offensive line is still going to be good. This is a 49ers team that should win this division because, listen, when you look at Seattle, look, Seattle's going to be competitive. They're going to be able to compete for this division. Seattle still has a very good chance to win this division. But, I mean, I like the 49ers' chances over Seattle's chances because of how complete they are. Seattle is really good at every position on their team besides in the trenches. They don't have a dominant one-on-one pass rusher, which is really important. If you want to be able to win in the NFL, you got to be able to get pressure on the quarterback. Then, they also don't really have all that great of an offensive line. Now, look, it's all good and dandy if they bring, you bring in Jamal Adams and things like that. But listen, they still have a lot of flaws on their team. When you look at the 49ers, name me one position on the 49ers that is just a big significant hole. Like, it's just a gaping hole. You can't really name one. The 49ers have the most complete team in this division. They also have one of the best coaching staffs in the NFL. You got Kyle Shanahan, one of the best play callers in the NFL. You got Robert Saleh, who this most likely is going to be his last year as the defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, because after this season is up, he's most likely going to end up being the NFL head coach. So this is a 49ers team that I believe should be able to repeat and win the NFC West once again. Like, I know a lot of people like to throw in Seattle, especially with the fact that they brought in Jamal Adams. But listen, Jamal Adams, is he going to improve that defense? Yes. But they still aren't really good rushing the quarterback. They still aren't really good at protecting Russell Wilson. So look, I don't really think Seattle is going to win this division once again over the 49ers. Then a lot of people want to talk about how the 49ers are going to have a Super Bowl hangover. Listen, the Super Bowl hangover is real, but I think the 49ers have a good coaching staff and have a good enough roster that they're going to be able to overcome that Super Bowl hangover. Like, the wide receiver position, like, Brandon Ayuk, I think is most likely going to end up being one of the best rookie wide receivers this upcoming season. They trade up to get this guy. I really like Brandon Ayuk. I feel he was really overrated. I feel he was really underrated. I almost said overrated. I meant to say underrated coming out of Arizona State. Then you're also going to have Jalen Hurd. You also got George Kittle. Then they just picked up Jordan Reed. So, I mean, look, you got Jordan Reed and George Kittle. Like, if Jordan Reed can stay healthy for just at least 12 games, that's going to be a very good 1-2 punch and a very good tight end combination. Jordan Reed, when he's healthy and he's on the field, and he's not, getting taken out of the game due to concussions and things like that, Jordan Reed is one of the 5 best tight ends, top 10 best tight ends in the NFL. But the reason why we haven't been able to see that is because he's not able to stay healthy. So look, the 49ers are going to win the NFC West. And, a lot of people are going to say you're sleeping on Seattle like always. I'm not sleeping on Seattle. Seattle is one of those teams that they address every position besides the ones that needs to be addressed the most. And the positions that need to be addressed the most is the offensive line and the defensive line. The defensive line is not really good at getting pressure on the quarterback. I think Seattle only had 28 total sacks last season, which was amongst the worst and bottom in the NFL last season. So, I mean, look, the 49ers are the most complete team in the division. They have a really good coaching staff. They're really good on both sides of the football. And a lot of people, everybody's just so intrigued about what people have at the skill position. Who's playing quarterback? Who's playing wide receiver? Who's playing cornerback? But a lot of people need to understand that football is still a game that is won and lost in the trenches. The teams that make it far in the playoffs are the teams that have the best coaching staffs and the best offensive lines and the best defensive lines. That's why the 49ers were so dominant this season. Every team that made it to the conference championship game, they all had very good offensive lines, like the Green Bay Packers, the 49ers, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Tennessee Titans. So I think that the 49ers with how good they are up front, having so much depth on their team, still having basically the same team they had last season, I think they're probably going to end up winning this division once again. I think Seattle could get them a run for their money. I'm not really all that sold on the LA Rams this year. I think the Rams are just too much of a mystery. Then Arizona could be a playoff team, but still, it's still a lot to be determined about the Arizona Cardinals. So I have the 49ers winning the NFC West. That's my final prediction. You guys let me know, because I know a lot of you guys are going to be a little bit, upset, and that's expected. When I'm doing these kind of videos, I'm not really going to be that upset about that. I know a lot of people are going to have their different opinions and things like that, but I do think with the 49ers being as a complete team as they are, they should be able to win this division pretty handily.